Hello there and welcome. I'm Ole Brygger, and if you're new here, I really hope I earn your subscription today. Today I'm going to upgrade this Necromancer's gate that I built a while ago, and if you haven't seen that, just look up here. The upgrade is a new river. I still want to maintain the old river, but I will have to cut it out, and the new river will be a lava river with some fairy lights installed so it will glow. I will make it twice as wide, and that means we will need a new bridge. Since I'm going to reuse this, I will have to install some magnets, and I will try to be very careful cutting out the old river. So why don't we just get started? First, I will have to saw off all the tongue depressors I used to stabilize the old river, and then carefully cut the foam along the edge with my hobby knife. First part is off, second part was a bit easier since I could get a better grip on it, and now I just had to sand off everything. I still want to use the old river so I can exchange it with the new river and make some different kinds of scenarios. So I installed a couple of magnets on both sides, and this was actually good enough to hold all the pieces together. This is some heavy-duty bookbinding cardboard, and I also used that for the old river. And as I mentioned, I want to have this river to be twice as wide. The old river was 3 inches wide, and now I'm going to make this 6 inches wide. Cutting it to size with my X-Acto knife and making a test fit. I had some more scrap foam cutoffs from my Army Painter XPS foam, and with this I will make a shorelines and some tiny lava islands. This is pretty quickly done with my handheld foam cutter, and gluing everything in with my hot glue gun. I want this lava river to have some light in it, so I'm using a wire with 20 LEDs. This is a fairy light. I have to unscrew 2 of the screws so I can open the battery compartment. And since I'm gluing this in on the screw side, it's kind of nice they are already out. I used a tiny saw blade on my rotary tool to cut through the cardboard and foam. And with my hobby knife, I could remove the rest of the foam and test to see if the battery compartment would fit. And it fits perfectly. Let's see if it can light up. Yes, it works. I will poke a hole with a barbecue stick so I can pull through the wire from the battery compartment. I will cut up some more foam so I can make some higher banks along the edge of the old build. I really love the width of the new river. I think the old river was a bit too narrow. I also installed a couple of magnets in the new river. And now for some basing glue. I will just smear it out with a brush all over the top of all the islands and the banks. And then I will pour on some cat litter. This type of cat litter is the stuff that will crumble up when it gets wet, and it gives a very nice surface and texture. And then I will seal up the gap between the foam and the cardboard with some more basing glue, and then set it to dry overnight. I'll also need a new bridge, and I will use this piece of foam. I want this to be some kind of a natural bridge, and it will melt into the terrain. So I will just roughly draw up where it's going to be and start carving it out. I use my Proxon for the big stuff and my handheld for the details. And now we have a bridge. Let's put some cat litter on that as well. I used the Ruins and Cliffs Game Master XPS foam primer from the Army Painter. This works quite well and it doesn't melt the foam. For the existing parts where I cut the old river off, I use this German Panzer Grey. I should have primed it with some Mod Podge, but since most of it will be covered by the river anyway and won't be visible, I thought maybe this is okay. The primer is now dry on the river and it's time to give it some color. And I will try to thin down this burning ore from the new War Paint Fanatic series from the Army Painter and see how it goes in the airbrush. And it works perfectly. It is nice and bright, and I really love this color. I will also use this color on the underside of the bridge, just to make a glow effect. I will make a resin pour, so I need some barriers on each end of the river. This is just some pieces of scrap foam that I will hot glue in. I will also put some hot glue on the inside, just to make sure that it's nice and tight and we won't have any leaks. Now the barrier is secure, I can install the fairy lights and pull the wire through the little hole I made previously. There is 20 LED lights on this wire, and I will try to distribute them all over the river and secure them with some hot glue. Things start to take shape, but I think it still needs some color. I use some demonic yellow from the Army Painter to paint all around the LED lights. And then I will use some more of this burning ore from the Fanatic line to paint up all the wires between the LED lights. I also made some yellow pools with the demonic yellow. This actually looks like crap, but it is on purpose, and I'm doing this very sloppy since everything is going to be blurred after the resin pour. I'm using this 2-component resin. I have some alcohol colors, some gloves, and now it's just to mix the resin. This is a resin that is mixed 2-to-1, and then I will put in some orange alcohol colors. This is made for mixing with resin. And to mix it up, I use a couple of coffee stir sticks in my battery screwdriver. I can pour the resin and let it set for 24 hours. And then the disaster happened. I had a spill through the hole where the wire came through to the LEDs. And not only there, I had a spill in the other end that was even worse, and in the middle of my piece. I totally panicked and turned off my camera. The spill in the other end had spread all over my floor, and I lost almost half of the resin that I had poured up. I put the river on a piece of cardboard, and I forgot to film everything, but you can see here it's still leaking. I spent almost 1 hour and 1 liter of isopropyl alcohol to clean up my floor and my desk. And this was not all. The day after the resin had set, I started to paint, but my top-down camera just malfunctioned. So all the recordings of me painting the top with the Citadel Technical Mordant Earth and some speed paints for the orange and to make things more matte were lost. And I was not happy with the result at all. The LEDs were shining way too much through the surface, and it was too obvious where the LEDs were. So I decided to paint on some lava on top of the diodes just to dim them down a bit and try to spread out the light. To finish up the lava flow, I used some Army Painter speed paint, the Nuclear Sunrise, and then I just let it run all over the model, and it gave it a pretty cool effect. To finish it up, I used some pan pastels just to give it some more color, and some pan pastels for the bridge. And it is done. I had an epoxy spill and I hate it. It gave me a lot of cleanup, but I tried to fix it and the result turned out okay. At least it gives the players an idea of where to go and not to go. Don't step in the lava. But I will definitely revisit this in another video because I have another idea of how to light it up. I don't like the way you can see all the dots from the LEDs. So I think in my next attempt, I will try to use some LED strips and embed them in the epoxy along the edge and let the light come in from the sides. But this is it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Goodbye for now.